morning, Nigel. Now, why do you think that this report, tell us why you think it's been a total whitewash?
Well, I've been watching over the course of the last few years with growing alarm numbers of my colleagues being debanked, not just their personal accounts, but their business accounts as well. And nobody ever wanted to go public, because to say to the world that you've been debanked, it's embarrassing and it's humiliating. And then it happened to me. And I thought, you know what? Actually, I am going to stand up and fight for myself, but not just for me, but for all the others it's happened to. And since I came out, as it were, 3 months ago, the number of people that have been debanked, that have come to the fore, is astonishing, not just amongst politicians and business leaders, right the way through to tens of thousands of small businesses who, for no reason, have had their accounts closed, and up to 1 million bank accounts closed in this country in the last 4 years.
So why is this a whitewash then?
Well, it's a whitewash because the FCA say to the banks, have you closed anybody down for political reasons? The banks say no, and the FCA say, oh, that's all right then. I can give you right now a list as long as your arm of people who've been involved in politics, particularly, not solely, but particularly on the Brexit side of the argument, that have been debanked because the banks think they pose a reputational risk. So this is a whitewash. We need better. I hope the government will now push the FCA to start to delve a lot more deeply. And ultimately, this is about fairness for people in public life, fairness for those running small businesses, keeping cash within the system. And the big one that I'm going to campaign for over the course of the next few years is for the right of every individual in the country to have a bank account. We used to have that right until the post office was privatized. Our neighbors, other countries that are similar to us, have that right. And without a bank account, it's very hard to exist.
OK, just to be fair to the FCA, they say they're going to continue their investigation. So maybe we are too quick to say that it's been a whitewash. However, Nigel, they also say that they weren't even remotely going to look into your case because they were only looking to cases where the banks were actually closed. Now, can you clarify that for us? Was your bank account actually closed? Because the FCA says that it wasn't.
I was given notice that the account would close. I was shocked, as people always are in these situations. No reason was given to me whatsoever. Then I learned, and I'll be honest, I didn't know this, I learned there was something called a subject access request. It was putting in that request that got the data back, that confirmed I was to be closed out because my views did not align with that of the bank.
Nigel,
so I was given a notice date.
Nigel, how long have you had this bank account for?
43 years.
OK, well, why all of a sudden have they decided that your views don't align? Because, with all due respect, you have been a controversial character for a long time. So why now?
Well, quite right. I mean, I was a lot more controversial 10 years ago when leaving the EU was a really minority fringe opinion, as opposed to now being a mainstream view. It's because what we've seen going through our corporate companies is this increasing tide. You can call it political correctness, wokery, whatever you will. And it's there within the FCA as well. I mean, the FCA are pushing very hard for the diversity and inclusion agenda. And that seems to matter more to them than the financial well-being of the people of our country. It's the politicization of much of corporate Britain that directly led to this. OK,
I hear you're saying this is due to institutional wokery. Now, explain to me then why, if Coutts were closing down that bank account, they offered you another bank account with NatWest, which is a sister company. If they were completely politically opposed to you and didn't want you to be affiliated with any of their banks, why on the basis of your politics, why on earth would they offer you another account?
They offered me no account at all. They just said, get thee gone by this date. It's only when I went public that they said, well, you can have a NatWest personal account, but not a business account, which was useless to me. And ultimately, once the CEOs of both NatWest and Coutts had resigned, they then said, you can keep your accounts. So that's fine. My banking problems are best part sorted. But what about everybody else? What about everybody else? People out there who aren't able to stand up and fight for themselves. Something has gone very, very wrong in our banking industry. And I've set up I've set up this website, accountclosed.org, and people who've been debanked can go there, and I will try to help them.
Crystal, have you got a question for Nigel?
My view is that I've been talking about this for a long time, well before Nigel had these issues. I remember hearing about people who had social media posts that they'd put out, which were unsavoury, but I believe that a bank account in this day and age is a human right. And when you sign up for your bank account, there are terms and conditions that can mean the bank, people on low incomes, people who might just have one account, the bank can withdraw those services and not even tell you why and not even give you direct access to your money. So this is a really important story for the public. Now, Nigel, I didn't agree with you over Brexit. Not all of your views I align with, but I think this is a really important story that you have exposed. But what I would ask you, though, is what you would say to your critics who are saying, well, look, this is about Nigel's ego. This is about him wanting to promote himself again. He doesn't give two hoots about the public. What would you say to those people?
I mean, look, frankly, I'm not doing this for me. What do I gain out of this? I've been mocked and derided. I mean, I was lied about by the CEO of the bank. We had much hilarity that my account had been closed because I didn't have enough money and all the rest of it. No. I watched Aaron Banks, who funded Believe.eu campaign, go through what The Guardian and others put him through, the Russia hoax, the complete lie that Brexit was funded by Russia. And I saw what he went through when his business accounts were closed and he nearly lost everything. So I've been waiting to have this fight for justice for a very, very long time. And, frankly, who better, whether you like me or not, but who better to shine a light on what's happened to a million people than me? I think I've done it pretty effectively.
Yasmin.
It is all about you, Nigel, because for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, for example, if you cared that much, you must know because you're a politician. And, OK, you're brilliant at outrage. You're the king of outrage. But you showed none when so many Muslim organizations had their banking facilities withdrawn. You said nothing. You said nothing. I ran a charity. It was in the papers over and over again. But it was only when it happened to you, because you're not getting the attention you had, and you're missing it, frankly. You're an attention seeker. You don't care about the rest. You don't care about the rest.
OK, let Nigel come back on that.
I'm sorry. The trouble is, Yasmin, you're so blinded, by your Remainer dislike of Leavers that you're missing the point here. I repeat, I've set up a website for those that have had their accounts closed. I'm educating people how they can use subject access requests. I am lobbying the government and the FCA to change the rules on banking so that we can have a universal right to a bank account in this country. I knew debanking was a problem. What I didn't realise until I went public is just what the scale of it was. So maybe for once, give me some credit.
Nigel, just quickly come back on that.
No, you didn't care because it was about people like me, Muslims, those people the woke, you didn't care. When it happened to you, honestly, and Aaron Banks, then you cared. Then you cared.
Nigel, just quickly on that.
I'm sorry, you're so filled with prejudice, you're not seeing the bigger picture.